We welcome you to the History Channel forever and invite you to watch the video with our new author's story. Lyosha didn't want to go home at all. He thoughtfully walked along the painted-out alley in the autumn. From time to time, he threw the fallen leaves at the shoe with his toe and dreamed that some miracle would happen, and he didn't have to tell his mother that she was being called to school. The teenager was afraid of not being punished, but that his mother would start crying, counting drops of sedative through tears and reading that he, Alexei, had chosen the wrong path. And he didn't expect anything good in the future. However, he tried his best to make it as soon as possible, but he still ended up at home. Mom was already knocking on the kitchen door, and hearing the sound of the door opening, she shouted into the corridor, "Son, wash your hands and run to the table. Keep in mind that I won't warm you up. I have to go to the night shift today. I still need to rest." Although because of the upcoming unpleasant conversation, he didn't want to eat at all. Only if he refused to eat, Mom would have guessed right away that something was wrong. By the time the boy had taken his tea, the woman suddenly asked, "Well, how was your school day? What grades did you get?" "Everything is fine. For in math." "Well, why are you silent? You seem to have a dictation version about a random fall. How was the result?" "What can I say? I don't know." So we stayed without our daddy and without the slightest hope for justice. After a deep breath, instead of everything that your father could teach you, I was told tomorrow not to come to school without a feeder. Oh my God, you can really think about these little things that can replace your dear man. Why did you do it right away? Was in a daze. You have accepted justice as your dad. Strong anger remembered the events as Alexei imagined. When a terrible grief came to their family, took out a bubble from the dark glass. Although he was only 11 at the time, opening the lid, he had to become a support for his mother, into an empty who cried and scolded her husband. The teenager politely rushed to the tap of her own goodness, and brought a glass of cold water. She blamed Grandma Luba. A faint aroma of apple spread across the tiny kitchen. This sharp, just like disturbing smell, and cried out, "Not too big. You brought him up so well that he didn't even think of Alexei." And he was trying to save that connected girl with trouble and misfortune. "I'd rather die than be a homeless man." Having taken Grandma Luba tried took another chance to speak out what had eaten her. "My dear Rita, don't blame anyone. This is your father. You know that Vova he found someone to take an example from. He was born like this. If he were not so everyone now, he would be alive with us. But for Lyosha's sake, raise you. We must hold on now. Well, just a hero. It's your fault. Like Rambo the Unfinished. You brought up the hero, whom I hate. You remember? I hate. We all saw in the movie together. Losing contact the unfortunate girl. I also found a hero received a terrible blow from the bastard, Grandma Lisa, and the asphalt mother, who came for 1,500 kilometers. Everything was fine with everyone except us. That terrible evening not at the trial, even called and for it's good that you didn't stop the hysteria of the young girl gave a snotty testimony. She stood and lied that there was stabbing his mother. Just a bad joke that the man passing by indifferent to everything around her. He allowed his eyelashes to be taken to the bedroom. Shed a tear. The boy stayed in the kitchen. He said that this ladies were unnecessary defender families who had lost on the asphalt after the rain. Elizaveta Georgievna extremely badly. Maybe we'll take Lashinka to and his friend didn't touch him so that he can switch a little from his grief. The witnesses were standing far away Rita to the fresh air and couldn't see what actually happened. Maybe she'll take a vacation. Who lost his life because of your father. Some kind of such characteristics. Any grief will be dull when from morning till sunset the hands and eyes are busy. The worst thing is that the judge believed in Lyubov Nikolaevna. Have you forgotten the traditions? Someone had to stay in the apartment for at least days. As a result, Lyosha went to the village with his grandmother and grandfather, and his mother came for him only at the end of August, when the smell of autumn was already in the air in the morning. Margarita was quiet and polite. She talked to her in-laws without raising her eyes. The parents of the lost son were not angry at the bride and did not know how to better bring her in. Grandma Luba, hastily covering the table, told how wonderful Lyosha spent the summer, and Grandpa Vitya, sitting at the table, dressed in a jacket. "You, Margarita, bring us a grandson more often. It's good here," he asked and then, seeing that it was unpleasant for her to explain why the trip was impossible, she stopped asking. The connection with her father's deceased mother was only preserved through letters and beautiful postcards for the holidays. Mom was always grumpy when she noticed these little lines in the mailbox, but she didn't want to tear this fragile thread of communication. Sometimes, when he made his son, who was trying to get letters from his grandparents, asked them to say hello and wish them good health. However, he didn't talk about visiting the village. Alexei had to grow up too early, and the teenager realized that his mother had not yet let go of her past. Of course, he did not want to cause her any more troubles, but you can't get back what you've done. Rita again dug up a sedative for herself, and while spinning the cup on the table, she asked her son, "Well, what have you done?" Svataka and Gummins quarreled. The lantern put it under his eye. "Lyosha, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? Have you forgotten that his father is the chairman of the law firm? Are you going to sew the travel tickets to the summer camp now, or put them in such a hole that you won't even be able to come to you?" "Mom, I didn't just quarrel like that." Vitaly started bragging that he had a house in Vidik, and then started offering to receive an invitation to visit in exchange for indecent acts. "Lyosha, maybe you've got something wrong. Did Vitaly misunderstand? Or did he believe someone else? And his relatives lied?"
"No, Mom.
"I heard with my own ears that Iguminsky offered. What could he offer so terrible? Actually, he's from a decent family. The class leader, if I remember correctly, a pioneer, or maybe almost a Komsomol person. You remember correctly. But he's a bastard, and he'll remain a bastard, even if he's accepted into Komsomol. Under his conditions, he offered the girls to be treated like bastards in exchange for a Vidix viewing. We, the boys, Vitaly, offered to kiss his boots. When I started to get angry, he called me a bastard. He said that I would never have a Vidic. So I moved him. This guy didn't even have time to react. He thought I wouldn't dare to hit him. And as soon as he got hit in the eye, he didn't even dare to complain. I'm in trouble. Oh, son, I don't even know what to do with you. You don't need to wave your fists a lot. I could have answered this Vitaly differently. Otherwise, you now have problems, and I may not get along. Still, it's better not to contact the chairman of the law firm. In general, tomorrow you are going to school. I will write a note to Anna Stepanovna that I will rush to her immediately after the shift. Do you understand?" The teenager nodded and said in advance, "You lie down, Mom. I will wash the dishes myself." "Okay, and sit down for the lessons right away. I still need to be reported for your poor study." Alexei was cleaning the kitchen and was glad that his mother did not scold him too much. However, everything could have gotten much worse after meeting with the class leader. She could have already presented the whole situation in such an unpleasantly bright light that her father's belt, long put aside, could have gone into action again. Lyosha's mother thought for a long time how to do it and decided that the best way out of the situation would be to visit Gumin. Yes, before the shift began, we had to go straight to their house and decide everything. Rita barely ran to the children's room to share her idea. "Get ready quickly. You'll finish the lessons later. Go and ask Vitaly and his family for forgiveness. Maybe we can agree to let the situation down." "I'm not going anywhere, Mom. Vitaly is a bastard. I'm not going to sneak up on him." "Lyosha, why are you making things difficult? We'll go, apologize, and that's it. There will be no problems. Otherwise, they'll punish us for the hand-to-hand." "No, Mom, I won't apologize. Vitalik should be punished for what he does." "You're stubborn." "Well then, as you know." Lyosha was outraged by the mother's offer. She was offended by her son's likely consequences. As a result, the most dear people failed to come to an agreement. After the shift, a visit to school was scheduled. And of course, this didn't make her feel better. Anna Stepanovna started talking to her mother and her fine student right away with complaints. "Margarita Mikhailovna, why don't you raise your son as a worthy citizen of your country? Of course, I know about the grief that happened in your family and I deeply sympathize, but everything has to have limits." Vitaly joked, "And your Alexei beat him up cruelly? I'm just forced to ask you to exclude your son from the Pioneer organization. It would be good if Vladimir Antonovich doesn't go to the director with the request to put Alexei in the police's children's room and kick him out of school." I think you yourself understand that the father of the victim has the right to do so. Anna Stepanovna, I beg you, don't kick Alexei out of school. You know that boys always fight. It has always been like that. I will go to Vladimir Antonovich myself to solve this issue. I promise from my side that Alexei will behave well in the future. Well, Margarita Mikhailovna, try to regulate this conflict. In addition, and for the future, tell Alexei how to behave. You yourself understand that I will take care of the healthy atmosphere in the team. Alexina's mother promised Anna Stepanovna that she would definitely bring good news to her son, and she left the office where the school children had already entered after the call. Having shown the son the fist, the woman hurried back to the factory to talk to the father of the victim, Vitaly, who was stepping out with pride and even an overbearing look. Thanks to the fact that Vladimir Antonovich knew the late husband of Margarita well, the conflict between the classmates was resolved. The chairman of the lawmaking committee, having heard the striking story of the woman, began to calm her down. You see, I heard from Vitalik about this situation not quite as your son presented it. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. Of course, it's not good that your son is letting go of his hands, but my Shalapai, of course, should not have boasted. I don't think he wanted to humiliate anyone from the classmates, but I will still have a prophylactic conversation with him about what jokes can be understood wrong. Margarita barely cried and began to thank the man. Thank you very much, Vladimir Antonovich. You are just a golden man. The chairman of the trade union was embarrassed, noticing that the visitor was ready to kneel before him, and interrupted her. Well, that's it, Margarita. I have to work. I hope we will see each other again for pleasant reasons. By the way, maybe there will be a few trips to the sanatorium closer to the new year. You can take a look, find out. At home, Margarita asked her son to stop meddling in the affairs that directly concern him, and Alexei made such a promise. For the sake of her mother's peace, he began to avoid any communication with Vitaly. As a result, without any unpleasant events, in a few years, Alexei successfully graduated from 9 classes. To this day, to the surprise of most Soviet residents, the great and powerful was already brutally destroyed in the Belovezha desert. Like millions of fellow citizens, Margarita and her son had a hard time. They started to delay their salaries at the factory. Sometimes the only living money in the family was paid for the death of Lyosha's father. The teenager even declared to his mother, I decided to go to work, not to study further. Rita was sad. It wasn't the fate she wanted for her son, but there was no other way out. There were constant rumors of bankruptcy at the plant, and that made her very worried. They said that production would be stopped soon. The most valuable will be sold to whoever needs it for free. Otherwise, they would be taken as scrap metal, and people would be fired, and often gave dissatisfied voices that there was nothing to take the. He was not able to cope. His son Vitaly, having been in pain, took up the organization of a small business to support his mother-in-law, and offered his classmates to take part in the project. He offered cooperation, and his old friend Lyosha did not refuse and announced to his mother. Vitaly offered to work with him with all his heart. He put up a kiosk for a couple with some relatives, to unload the goods, to sell them if necessary, and to fulfill some other orders. Rita was worried and cried, feeling helpless. Alexei worked as hard as he could, not having enough time to spend on weekends, and often saw only the little things with his mother. The teenager left the earned money on the edge of the kitchen table and fell asleep helpless. And then, after breakfast, Nusker ran away from home. The letters sent by his grandmother and grandfather were all disturbing. They insisted on inviting him to come at least for a short time, and softly, in the lightest colors, they talked about health problems. However, it was not even a week to get out of the house to help with the harvest. Alexei was terribly busy, and did not immediately notice that his mother began to dress more gracefully. She came home late and didn't stay home for a few nights. One morning, when her son hadn't run away yet, Rita appeared at the door of the apartment, accompanied by an unfamiliar man. Alexei, meet Dmitry Dmitrievich, my good friend. Hello, said Lyosha, and wanted to go to his room, but almost stumbled when he heard the following phrase. Dmitry will now live with us. We decided to marry him and already filed a claim. Hello, Alexei. You can just call me by my name. No need for my father's name and other formalities. We will still be family. I hope you will not interfere with your mother becoming happy. The stranger was interested. At least I would really like to get along with you normally. It hurts to see how Rita is struggling, trying to earn at least something and raise you. Alexei didn't know what to say and just nodded. Having entered his room, he sat on the bed and looked at the floor for a few minutes. He certainly didn't see any tips and advice on how to live on. He just had to get ready and go to work, which the teenager did with great relief. Hearing how steps of a stranger man are being taken around the apartment, his voice and loud laughter were too unpleasant. After the transfer, Rita became more comfortable. In almost unopened suitcases, which Dmitry brought to her apartment the next day after meeting Lyosha, there were not many things. And all the free space was occupied by jars, condensed milk, stew, ham, fish and canned food, and even sprats. Here, the hostess cook, the man said, without any regrets. My client is being served in the service, just like a magic chicken dick, carrying golden eggs. He will bring such good on a roll, if I just hint. Probably, Lyosha would have managed to convince himself in the need to silence the feeling of offense and allow his mother to acquire new female happiness. But Dmitry almost immediately began to behave impudently and even callously. The teenager was not in his right mind without this. How could his mother choose this tall smirk with thin cockroach mustaches and a nasty high voice? The future caused a lot of resentment for the teenager, especially when he started to laugh at him. What, Alex? Did you not have enough brains to continue studying? 9 grades of education is certainly better than a church price school in the beginning of the century. But now, who thinks about the future, tries to get a diploma. Rita hears such conversations and strives to support her son. Mitya, you know that Lyosha was forced to drop out of school. He supports our family. And the diploma? Well, what diploma? You won't be fed up with them. Again, when everything is normalized in the country, you can get education, even if it's for the sake of education. Dmitry gradually stopped talking about education, but found a new reason for the mockery. One day, Lyosha even complained to his mother. Why is he so mean? He's already started to cling to me. Rita, trying to keep the world in her apartment, started a serious conversation with her fiancé. Dima, you're an adult. Leave Lyosha alone. He doesn't do anything bad. He makes money. Would it be better if he was lying on the bed, or even worse, with some junkies walking around the area? And so he brings money home, and there's no time to think about stupidity. The man went to the, and then, I'll have to do the same. But how else? You're my woman, I'm a man, and I must protect you and everyone who is close to you. Besides, everyone who's not lazy is making these jokes. Rita was pleased to hear such words, and she quietly asked the groom, well, what do you suggest, Dima? It's not a good idea to laugh at Alex. He's not young anymore. Dmitry kissed his bride in the head and shared his idea. It would be nice to have a. That same evening, Rita told her son about what her future father would suggest. In order to push her decision to the right one, the woman said without any appeal, Alexei, tomorrow you have to agree with Igumensky. Let him give you a day off and go to the service with Dima. I think he is right. Trade is risky. Last week a lorry in the neighboring district of Moscow was blown up like a match. While the fire truck arrived and there was nothing to extinguish, the ground burned. The saleswomen say that she managed to escape, so another one to attack. The owner demands damage from her. So, Lyosha, for the sake of my peace of mind, you'd better do a normal job. You have brains. Everything will work out. At this moment, the teenager ate pasta and ham from an open jar with an appetite, trying not to think about pride. He actually understood that the work of Nagumin and his relative was going nowhere. Lyosha managed to notice that in the shift, when his partner was killed by Vitali, small mischiefs were happening. The goods turned out to be overpriced. The revenue turned out to be a little less than he thought. However, he was unable to cure the former classmate of dishonesty, and he also did not want to accuse him without proof. Of course, it was scary to change something. What if the car service doesn't work, and the previous place will be occupied? What should we do then? On the other hand, working with a partner you don't trust is much worse. After a quick consideration of the future father's offer, Alexei briefly answered to his mother. Okay, I'll try to ask Vitalik to go to his work with Dima. The teenager in the car service was surprisingly pleased. Alexei had a feeling of belonging to something real. For example, they dragged a car on a cable car that didn't start up. And then, under the hood, the master Uncle Matvey, and as if sneezing, the engine began to rumble like a satiated cat. Dima was mainly engaged in balancing the wheels that day, and of course, he used his future passenger in the style of give and bring. However, Lyosha was not offended at all. But when Uncle Matvey called him to watch the replacement of the candles, he was completely distracted. What teenager does not dream of a means of transportation? Lyosha stayed to have lunch right in the service room, as his volunteer mentor suggested. And Dima went off somewhere. In the fenced-off corner, where there was an electric kettle and even a toaster, it smelled of car oil and gasoline, but the teenager, in the absence of a future father, felt a strong appetite and, without hesitation, ate in the company of the masters. The time until the evening passed unnoticed, and on the way home Dmitri asked Lyosha, "Well, how do you like the real man's work?" "Yes, very much." Without thinking, Alexei said, "Well, wonderful. Mavi said that you looked at him, and he will order a word from you to the owner. So, my boy, you can think that you are very lucky." Vitalik was very dissatisfied when Lyosha announced his decision to change his job, but he did not agree to stay. Only with a blink of an eye he said, "After your last shift, I did not count. The cigarette block. How, honestly, will you pay the cost, or how?" Lyosha, who knew for sure that he did not take anything from the stall, felt an acute desire to move the former classmate, but decided to deal with the vicious arguments. "First, I gave up my shift without any problems, and you were present. Secondly, Vitalik, I'm not blind, and I notice that you're pushing the forbidden one a little. What do you think? Will I be silent if you decide to take my money in the right place?" Friendly and friendly. What are you, Lyosha, joking or something? I just wanted to play you. Okay, good luck in the new business. Vitalik's sincere wish did not upset Alexei, who now knew he was right, agreeing to Hahala Mama's proposal. The teenager was happy to learn from all the wisdom in the car service, sometimes even being detained after Dmitri left home. After hardly getting a stamp in his passport for the marriage with Margarita, he felt like a real owner in an apartment, which he had no right to, in general. Alexei desperately did not like that the man was blaming his mother for various reasons. From the point of view of a teenager, all the claims were unfair. But trying to avoid scandals, Rita begged her son, "Please do not cross with Dima, and do not defend me. Since he scolds me, then I deserve it. Okay, we'll deal with him ourselves." Alexei patched his shoulders. In fact, his mother and father are adults. They will manage somehow without his interference. However, it was unbearable for him to be at home, where he was, as it were, deprived of even the right to express his opinion. So, Lyosha lived in the car service, as they say, until the last customer. Gradually, the teenager increased the level of his knowledge. Matvey, who took over the hard-working newcomer. He was happy with this employee, and the other colleagues treated Alexei normally. Everyone except Dmitri. The father seemed to envy the success of the boy. With a true promise, Alexei tried not to react to Dmitri's actions. But after a few years, a sluggish conflict broke out in the apartment. That evening, the father again mocked the success of the passing and the repair of the cars. Lyosha is a good boy, of course, but he is only years old. And since he is not a student, then he is not allowed any delay. So, little one, get ready. The army is waiting for you. Dmitri laughed at him. Rita, grabbing on the left side of her chest, asked to dig in calmly and began to ask, Dima, you have a lot of acquaintances. You boasted that in your service, anyone who does not repair cars, let them make a temporary leave, or even better, give up the soldier. I'm scared, Dima. Too many hot spots on the territory of the former Union have burned, and I do not intend to give away the only son. Mom, what are you pushing Dmitri on? No need, I'll go. I'll serve as it should be, and I'll come back with a clear conscience. The future defender of the motherland was very upset when Uncle Matvey addressed him with A. It was not Mother who was to blame, but still Matvey, who was holding the call to the non-tactical father, who was saying, Why are you mumbling in vain? It's all in the past, that's what the people say. The tense moment was neutralized and Dmitri no longer had to be a pimp. Alexei went to serve, but not 6 months later, as he was told about the death of his grandfather. It was quite expected, because he was not young, but still it became a terrible blow to the soldier. The commander of the unit took the position and let Alexei say goodbye to his close friend. The guy was depressed, but with all his might tried to support the grandmother, who turned out to be even blackened. But the tears rolled down his face. It was a shame that after that sad summer, when his father took him away, he almost never saw his old men again. However, Grandma Luba did not say a word, and taking her grandson back to the unit, she hugged him tightly and, as she rose up on the steps, told him, Lyosha, I'll write you off at home and the place, so you know. You'll arrange it as you need it. What are you, Granny? I'll just come back and probably move to you. I'll repair the cars or find some other job. You just hold on. Okay, grandson. But remember, the papers are important. I keep them in the tin box in the attic. In the corner, on the right, from the window. You'll find them when the time comes. It was hard and sad for Alex when he left his granny, but it was impossible not to return to the unit. It was not enough to become a deserter. Unfortunately, the gloomy feelings were justified. Grandma Luba, barely after half a year, followed him. The commander of the unit, looking harsh and tough, again allowed Alexei to leave for a sad reason. This time, Rita also came to the village in the company of Dmitri, who, in his opinion, became even more hostile. Even during the memorials organized in the local club, he confessed everything to the neighbors at the table. How much does the land cost in the village? What are the communications? Does the bus travel? Alexei, having found himself in a deserted house, went to the attic and searched for the grandmother's secret. The will was really in the box. Rita, seeing in her hands a colored blank with prints, was surprised. What did the blood of the land and the fluff of the will leave? And to whom did she write everything? Now I should probably go to the notary to find out how to do everything right. Oh, you won't make it with one visit, Dmitri said. You'll have to ride several times and sit in queues. But I have to leave tomorrow evening. So you trust your mom to make her do these things instead of you. Tomorrow morning we'll go to my friend's notary and make the right paper. The main thing is to take all the important documents from here. Otherwise, who knows who will climb into an empty house. Not giving too much into the details of what the notary explains, Lyosha signed some kind of document. Rita was waiting in the hall and took away from her son's hand the trust in her name. Dima, surprised by the boy's generosity, paid for the notarial services and even threw her on the train station so that Lyosha could get on the train. Rita hugged her son with a grudge, who was not shy in his words. Phew, what did they do to all the Tinder girls? You have a man growing up, not a lady with a seed. The next service went on without sad events, and honestly, having given the debt to his motherland, he safely returned home. Of course, in 2 years he is a little bit out of the civil life. He was also very pleasantly surprised to discover that Dmitri felt like a full-fledged owner of the apartment. Although he was still at work, his presence was felt in everything. His shoes and clothes were firmly covered in the hallway. There was a male perfumery in the bathroom, which was even more than Rita's in quantity. It seemed that Dima took up all the space. The former children's room now looked like a warehouse. Rita, in a hurry, released the son from the boxes, explained, Damachka opened the car store. Now we have to keep some of the goods at home. Now we will put it all along the wall so that it doesn't bother you. Alex was unpleasant, but he didn't want to fight with his mother. Dressed in his favorite army clothes, he quickly ate, and despite the fact that the evening was over, he went for a walk. Rita tried to stop her son. Wait, Alex, Dima should be back soon. We'll sit down and celebrate your return from the army. It's okay, Mom. I'll be quick. I'll run to the car service. Oh, say hello to Uncle Matvey and other men. I'll try to make an agreement about the work. Alex brought another upset to the visit to the car service. Matvey, as it turned out, quit because he decided to move to another city. Only one of his friends remained, Andrei, the mechanic, who, leaving Lyosha aside, told the story. There were few of us left here. Dima started his own business, but it was nothing without him. He didn't notice the loss of the soldier, but without Matvey, everything became different. The owner started to do something. Some people got scared, and the word against them cannot be said. I'm looking for a new job, and I advise you not to get involved. Thank you, Andrei. I understand. I'll think. When he returned home, he noticed changes in the appearance of his hometown. It seems that nothing has changed, especially in historical terms. Trees have grown, and the facades of some houses seem to be painted in a different color. At the place of the stall where he used to work with Vitalik and Guminsky, there was a pavilion with a sign of food, cigarettes, water. The guy wanted to enter the door, but heard a sound somewhere on the side, more like a dog's foot. Blaming curiosity, Alex turned around the corner of the pavilion and saw a crying girl sitting on the turned box. What are you crying about? The guy, who was upset by the unfavorable changes in the car service and the glaring prospect of finding a normal job, was not too polite. Did you lose something, or get a two? The girl raised her voice, and the crying face, which even in the half-darkness, had well-differentified tears of the soul, and answered the curious guy in tone, It's none of your business, go where you're going. Alexei did not obey the crying stranger. Looking around, he saw another box, turned it upside down and sat down next to it. Well, why are you sending me right away? Maybe I don't really want to go where I'm going. It doesn't hurt, they're waiting for me there, as it seems to me. So, there's time to listen to you. What's the matter? What's the matter with you? Alexei was even a little offended. You're a prick, I asked kindly. Maybe I can help you, and you're rude. How can you help? The owner is not enough to hang me, but offers to give him a debt of nature. The girl admitted, and then, after shedding tears on her cheeks, she turned to the interlocutor, looked him right in the eye and clarified, Well, why are you silent? Will you pay me for my money, or you will pay the owner differently? Alex asked. Is Vitaly Eguminsky's owner here, as he used to be? No, Vitaly Vladimirovich himself is the director of the store, the girl said. He gave me time to think until evening. I was thinking, but there was no way out. I didn't take anything from the store, as the owner says. No goods, no profit. I can't prove my innocence. And he threatens that he has a lot of acquaintances in the police. The girl cried again, and Alexei spoke in a hurry. Come on, don't be a wuss. I've known Vitalik for a long time from school. He's that bastard. By the way, where are you from? I don't think I've seen you before in our region. Or have you recently come here? I was released from the orphanage just a few months ago. I was given an apartment in a few stops from here. It's convenient. Don't spend too much on transport, said the girl. And then she added with confidence, I was not bothered to be taken to work. As soon as they found out that it was an orphanage, they immediately said goodbye. They said that's it. Vitaly Vladimirovich wasn't scared, and now he's making such accusations. Don't be afraid. We'll sort it out with Vitaly. I think he'll settle his claims right away. Eguminsky, who saw at the door of the pavilion not only the employee he accused of waste, but also his old acquaintance, was confused. Oh, hi, Lyosha. Glad to see you. What fates did he have to go through after coming to his senses? Turning to the girl, the owner of the pavilion threw her through the teeth. Why are you standing up like a dung beetle? Go to the back room and wait for me, Larissa. You see, I met an old friend. I'll deal with you later. Don't even think that you'll turn away. Vitaly, I actually look just about Larissa. As far as I understand, you were trying to turn your old trick with a flaw with her. And aren't you ashamed? You think that if there is no one to support the girl, you can blackmail her? Oh, Vitalik. Oh, come on, Lyosha, think about it. You've been sorry for the orphan. Give only the will to these hired sellers, and you will not see the profit forever. They drag someone just not to be lazy, so they have to preventively, so to speak, scare. I honestly did not take anything, she said, Larissa. Vitaly Vladimirovich, believe me. And Guminsky grumbled. He understood that there was almost no chance of having fun with the employee and tried to get out of it. In short, Larissa, you can consider that you have passed the test. Go and take the shift. Vera was just asking, so you will replace her? No, Larissa firmly answered. I probably won't be able to work here anymore. Oh, you think you're a queen. You'll crawl in and beg to give yourself a job. Well, roll. You just give me a salary, Vitaly Vladimirovich, and I'll roll, as you say. I was digging in my wallet, and Guminsky tried to support the world's conversation with the former classmate. I returned from the army a long time ago. I haven't got a job yet. Your father now has a car store. You'll probably go to him. Alex was silent. And as soon as the new acquaintance received the money, he said, Okay, Vitalik, we're in a hurry, bye. When she was outside, Larissa began to thank him. Alexei, thank you very much. If it weren't for your interference, I don't even know how everything would have turned out. Of course, I will have to look for a job, but at least I have money for the first time. I'll make it. The guy called to see off his new acquaintance and to her apartment. And Larissa didn't refuse. She felt obliged to Alexei with a happy resolution of an unpleasant situation. The girl walked in the company and soon came to the end, and embarrassed, the guy asked, Maybe we'll meet again. For example, tomorrow evening at 1:00? Come on, Larissa agreed. Right here and we'll meet. Maybe Alexei felt sorry deep down that his new girlfriend didn't invite him for tea. But on the other hand, he liked it. That means she is well-bred, though she spent her tender years in the orphanage. When the boy came home, Dmitri was already sitting at the kitchen at the table. Well, great fighter, how is it on the civilian? I already felt the air of freedom. I had time to flirt with the girls. Rita said that you went to the service. Well, how is it there? I must admit that I was busy with the stores, but did not visit the guys. I know that Matvey has just been fired, and without him, the rest have started to fire. Where are you going to work now? Rita barely managed to interrupt the talkative. Dima, you've made Lyosha sleep with questions. Let him sit down calmly and eat home-cooked food in a calm atmosphere. Then you'll talk. However, Lyosha didn't want to talk to the Yekid father. He told him that if possible, I would go to sleep. Go, or you'll have to mow all the sides in the barracks. And for breakfast, Dmitri again began to ask the little boy, Well, what plans? Maybe you'll come with me? You'll see what kind of store I have. Alexei, who had time to rest. At night, As if thoughts had cleared up, and he asked, Dima, how did you manage to open the store? The father's eyes were closed, and he always kept silent such a word. Riddy had to answer. You see, son, it's like this here. The car service was getting worse and worse, and we thought about it and decided to find a new source of income. In general, we had to sell the house to get the initial capital. Fortunately, I had confidence in you, and it helped us. It didn't work out any other way. Don't get angry, son. No, Mom, I'm not angry. I'm offended. Could it be that it was impossible to ask about it? They are like this, to solve everything in silence. Well, what are you, Alex? This store is our family business, said Dmitri. All for the sake of Rita not needing anything. Moreover, why do we need a house in such a deafness? It was also very lucky that the neighbors showed interest and bought this mess with a plot. The guy got up because the appetite for bad news completely disappeared and reported. And what? You won't go to the store with me? Dima was outraged. Come on, get involved in family business. No, I need to think about it for now. Besides, Dima, as I remember, you said that trading is not a man's business. Well, Lyosha, you're soft and warm. Don't confuse. I don't offer you to trade in a pot with a gum, but in a normal solid store with car parts. You tell me the address. I'll come in when the time comes. Okay, thanks for breakfast, Mom. I'm off. I'll be back in the evening. All day, Lyosha was walking around the streets of his hometown and visiting his old friends, many of whom were not at home. Unfortunately, no one could help him immediately with work, but one friend promised to find out about a normal vacation. This made Lyosha hope, and he went on a date with Larissa in a completely normal mood. The girl appeared at the agreed meeting place without being late and asked, "Let's go somewhere far away from here." The guy agreed. The area was alien, but of course, Alex knew that there was no entertainment worthy of attention. He offered the girl to walk in the city center, and she agreed. The date went great, and after that evening, the romance began between Alexei and Larissa. They couldn't see each other often because the girl and the guy were going to get a job soon. At one of the meetings, Lyosha made a favorite proposal. Listen, I understand that I have practically nothing, but maybe you will agree to marry me? Of course I agree, Larissa replied. We will live with me, of course, said Lyosha. There are more conditions there, and it is more convenient to get to work. Oh, Alex, is it convenient? Your mom and dad won't mind. Maybe I'll just stay here. We'll do some repairs, because my house is completely destroyed. Actually, I think we can do repairs even if we live with my family. It will be even more convenient, because living in a ruin is not convenient at all. Larissa was terribly worried before visiting the groom's house, and not in vain. The meeting went not quite smoothly. The gossips appeared almost immediately after Alexei announced, Mom, Dima, this is Larissa. We decided to get married. Very hardly hearing this news, he was unhappy and grumbled. So what, Romeo and Juliet, are you going to settle here? I think it's not very appropriate. Rita and I are not old people, but we still want silence and peace. The owner of the apartment pushed her man with her elbow and invited her. Why are we standing at the door? Come to the kitchen. I'll put the kettle on and we'll talk at the table. Lyosha, who was tightly pressing Larissa's hand, let her go so that she could unwind. Then, as if trying to support and inspire confidence, he again grabbed his hand with a wet hand. Dima, who had clearly received a short scolding from his wife, was silent, and Rita was trying to have a social conversation. Larissa, who are your parents? Where do they work? The girl calmly answered, although it was clearly not easy for her. I don't know where they work. I throw it up, and in the orphanage I was brought up. And then he asked, worried, Oh, you must be so thirsty that you can't sleep at all. Dima, don't be angry at my daughter-in-law, said Alexei. I never told you that you came to our apartment with your mother. And why do you say such words? Margarita tried to make up with her husband and son. Why are you so angry? Like teapots. Cool down and stop talking to each other. Larissa, I hope you don't get offended. In fact, I would be pleased if you and Alexei would live here after the wedding. There will be enough space for everyone, and I think no one will bother anyone. However, Margarita was confused. Dima didn't want to be shy at all. He would be quite happy if the boy and his young wife left the apartment. In order to achieve the fulfillment of this dream, he started to act actively, and he attracted the most evil-tongued fantasy to help. Soon Larissa began to complain to Alexei that when no one saw his father, he would try to pinch her, say some kind of nonsense. The young man did not bow and expressed his arrogant claim to his father. Listen, Dima, I could have put up with you a lot, but I will not allow you to offend my wife. Stop making fun of her. To the surprise of Alexei and his mother, even without knowing the details of what was happening in the apartment, stood on the side of her husband. Son, Dima is not to blame for anything. Why are you shouting at him? Show at least a little respect for the fact that he fed and drank for several years. Mom, have you forgotten anything? I've been working since I was a kid, and I've been bringing money to the house for a long time. Oh, the farmer has been looking for you. Dima started to mock. You bring the money you brought now. Only you can survive in hunger. It's not good if you were sitting alone on our neck. So you also brought your old lady here. If you are so mature that you are married, then be kind, and with the housing problem, solve so that your mother does not feel uncomfortable because of this. Rita agreed to tolerate you in her apartment, and she is silent because you are her son, and I will not be almond tasting. If your Larissa does not like it, let her wrap the suitcase in her hand. Dima, what right do you have to drive my wife out of the apartment you have no rights for? Dima is my husband, and he's registered here. So you got mad at him for not having any rights. Of course you're my son, but I have to tell you that if it's about that, it's your wife who's provoking Dima. You just love her and don't notice anything. How she looks at him, how she presses herself by passing by, and a lot more. Mom, what's wrong with you? You saw it. Why would I need to see it? Lyosha was shocked and almost screamed. Mom, wake up. Don't you understand what kind of a mess you've brought into the house? Dima is coming to Larissa. You take off your pink glasses yourself, and everything will become obvious. Larissa, still from the door, hearing the huge screams, began to blame her father-in-law. You don't let me pass when no one sees it, Dima yelled. Oh, you're a cowardly bitch, Rita. Don't believe her. This bastard wants to fight us with you. How shameful. I'll give you a sentence for slander. I'm an orphan too. What a pity. Is this how they teach you to behave in the orphanage? It seems that the attack is the best defense, right? I was also thinking, you'd better get out of here, both of you, for good and for good. Alexei was amazed. Why are you driving me and my wife out of our own apartment? Not only did he give himself the money for the sold-out grandmother's house, so now You're trying to get me out of the house? Get lost until you've made me mad, and you're trying to insult my daughter-in-law. There's no place for your rat Larissa to put a test. The whole orphanage must have gone through her, and you think I found myself in the dump to get to her? Lyosha already waved to put the head of the father-in-law to jail, but the party was able to escape thanks to the interference of Rita and Larissa, who stood up to their husbands with their lives in their hands. That's enough. Get out of here. With your filthy wife. You remind me of money for the house. We gave the house to Rita for no reason, just to make it easier for you to live later. That's enough. Get out of here. With your filthy wife. You remind me of money for the house. We gave the house to Rita for no reason, just to make it easier for you to live later. That's enough. Get out of here. With your filthy wife. You remind me of money for the house. How can I get money and property easier than that? Son, stop offending Dima and being a coward, said Rita. Better get ready, go away and try to build your own life. So, Mom, are you going to drive us away? This old man is more important to you than your son? Then stay with him. By hugging his wife, Alex led her to the room to pack her things. Rita was helpless and sat down on the chair, and Dima politely pulled out a glass in which he had buried the sedative. The woman, because of the open door of the kitchen, watched as the son and the bride left the apartment. But she did not make the attempts of their stoppers to somehow paint the ugly scene with at least polite farewell. Alexei and Larissa had to settle in an apartment that was allocated to her after leaving the orphanage. The young woman daily, as a believer in prayer, uttered words of gratitude to the director. This is all Anna Dmitrievna. If not for her care and a strong character, then hardly any of U.S. graduates would have been living in apartments. Of course, not a good life, but still square meters is just an invaluable gift for me personally. Anna Dmitrievna tried to influence me to get a better neighborhood, but I was happy to live there. Lyosha agreed with his wife. In fact, after his mother lost his roof over his grandmother's head and inherited the property, the housing area was very well managed. Larissa could not afford to rent the property by law for almost 4 years, and her young husband, having beaten him to a pulp, took up the land for renovation. However, the combined bathroom with the baths and the tiny kitchen were less of a problem. On one wall, a rosy-colored mushroom was growing, and the not-too-well-off neighbors regularly had drinks and loud scandals. However, Alexei was not going to go to his mother and make up with her. Larissa convinced him, "Dear, at least wish your mother happy birthday and happy holidays. It's not her fault that this demon influenced her. You can't imagine how I would have dreamed of having the opportunity to just come and talk to my mother. But I don't even know who she is and what pushed her to break up with me." Not immediately, but Alexei listened to his wife's advice. The first step to reconciliation he made almost 6 months after the quarrel. Rita had an anniversary and, worrying, the son and daughter-in-law came to her without invitation to congratulate and give her a gift. Dmitri opened the door and stretched out for a beautiful bouquet and flowers, but Alexei, without greeting, asked, "Where is Mom?" "Soon will come, wait," said the man and suddenly slammed the door in front of the well. "So let's wait," asked Alexei, "or let's go home and just leave the gifts here?" "Let's wait better. Not to congratulate your mother beautifully." Rita, and in fact, soon appeared on the stairs with 2 voluminous packages, and even as if she was happy to see her son. However, the door opened again. Dima went to the site, took the package from the hand of the jeweler, warned her not to stay long, and hid in the apartment again. "As I understand, on this holiday we are too much, right, Mom?" Alexei pointed out bitterly, but, having taken himself in his hands, he went to congratulate. Larissa joined with kind wishes. "Margarita Mikhailovna, all the best to you." The woman received flowers and gifts, but did not invite her son and daughter-in-law to the apartment, explaining, "I don't want a fight to erupt on my holiday. And it seems that everything is going well. Do I have to kiss his feet for the fact that he kicked me out with Larissa? That's it." "Alex, calm down," Larissa interfered. "I'm sorry, Margarita Mikhailovna. We'll go. Happy anniversary." Rita wanted to stop the relatives who took the hand of the little children, went down the stairs. But out of the open door, Dima seemed to be outraged. "Darling, how long can you wait? Let's go quickly." The woman looked away from her son and daughter-in-law and hurried home. The mood was not the most joyful, but she made it look like everything was absolutely normal. Living not far from each other, the relatives met periodically on the streets of the city and in the shops, but the conversation did not work out between them. Most often, the son and mother simply exchanged kifkas as not very well acquainted people and parted ways. Rita and Dima did not greet their daughter-in-law at all, as if she were an empty place. However, the former orphan girl was ignored. Well, she was very familiar with everything, but with her soul, unfortunately. Of course, she had a dream that she would marry and become part of her husband's family, but as life showed, it is quite possible to be quite happy together. When the term passed, which seemed too long, the spouses used the right to privatize Larissa's apartment. Of course, they had to try to run, but as a result, everything worked out. The woman even found buyers, and adding to the amount of money bought, the spouses bought a 2-room apartment. A chic new residential area could not be called, but the renovation was quite decent. Just come in and live. The work was close, but most importantly, they got out of the poor neighborhood. Now you could think about the birth of children. Lyosha and Larissa did not postpone the decision of this issue. The first of the couple had a daughter, who, as the happy mother wanted, was named Anya in honor of the director of the orphanage. Larissa was ready to share joy with the whole world, and insisted that her husband tell her mother that she became a grandmother. Lyosha, I understand that it's hard for you, but try to step over your pride. Go and tell your mother that our daughter was born. Bring some juice or something else. Let her wash her heels. The girls in the room say that it's the right thing to do. Alexei didn't have any illusions about his visit to his mother, but Rita, who was surprisingly friendly, even congratulated him and invited him to come in. The solution to this behavior turned out to be simple. The woman asked Alexei, I know that our relations have not been very good lately, but we are family, and I think it's time to forget about the disagreement, especially since new circumstances have appeared. Son thought that Mom meant the birth of a granddaughter, but Rita unexpectedly continued. Dima has serious problems in business. He owes debts to very difficult people, and the consequences can be very sad. Help me, please. Help me with money. Dima will definitely return you. Mom, what's wrong with you? Where did I get the money? How do you know? As far as I know, you even earn very well. In our city, you can easily find information about anyone you want to know. So I know that. You bought an apartment with Larissa, so you have money. So, all the money went to the apartment, Mom. Besides, while Larissa is in a maternity, I will become the only supplier. Maybe cruel, but I will say it straight. He is an adult person. He has to bear the responsibility. Of course, son, you're right in some way, but I'm still asking for help, at least something. Okay, Mom, I'll consult Larissa and let you know. Just tell me your phone number, because I've been having constant sleepwalks lately. I even sleep only for a few hours. Rita told her son her phone number, and Alexei hurried to leave the apartment, where it seemed to him that it was difficult to breathe. Lyosha did not tell his wife about his conversation with his mother, so as not to upset Larissa. He understood that the malice of a relative could cause completely unnecessary worries for the feeding woman. He decided to call and refuse to help his mother-in-law on the days he was away. But, being ready to appear in the apartment of a new resident, he did not have time to do so. The in-laws did not come to Larissa's discharge from the maternity home, but somehow they found out the address. They went to their apartment the next day after the happy event. The young mother carefully closed the door of the nursery, and, coming out, she patted her husband's shoulder and listened to congratulations, without even thinking of showing hospitality. Larissa wanted to lie down and sleep the most in the world, and not listen to her husband's mother. And Dmitri, as if in anger, clearly hinted that he did not like such a cool reception. Why are you holding us at the door? You are not polite, not family-like. At least invite us to the table and pour us some tea. Alexei was curious without hiding his anger. What, Dima? You can't even ask for help normally. Are you accidentally forgetting? Only we and Larissa make decisions about how to meet our guests in our territory. Be glad that I didn't slam the door in front of your face. Rita tried to establish at least a simile of a peaceful conversation. Well, what is there to remember? We brought presents for our granddaughters. The woman stretched the bag for her daughter-in-law. Larissa politely thanked them, but still did not invite the uninvited guests to the table. Dima, having exhausted his patience, began to visit. Alexei, you owe me a favor. You have money. Larissa was supposed to get the decree, so give me the money. No, Dima. After you took over my inheritance, I owe you nothing. Rather, you owe me thanks for not demanding the money back for the sale of my property. So if you came only for material support, the meeting is over. Dmitri wanted to answer something. Alexei preferred not to meet with his mother in person after this unpleasant visit, but to limit communication by phone calls and messages. He didn't want to hear, or see Dima at all. Larissa and her blood sister's relationships became politely neutral, and in random clashes they limited greetings. 5 years after Anichka's birth, Larissa gave her husband a second daughter, Sveta. And this time the grandmother didn't even start to congratulate the family of her son with a replenishment. However, they did not expect this. They had enough friends and communication with whom gave such necessary mental warmth. From Larissa and Alexei, wonderful parents turned out. Carefree, moderately strict, but extremely loving. The girls grew up in an atmosphere of absolute happiness. But when the younger Sveta went to the 1st grade, the family was destroyed by a terrible incident. Alexei died right at the workplace due to an accident. The car fell off the lift and did not leave the man even a chance to survive. When the colleagues of the deceased called Larissa with this news, the woman was barely in shock. She held on only for the sake of the daughters who played the lottery peacefully without suspecting that their usual life had just changed dramatically. Of course, Larissa informed about the death of her husband not only to his friends, but also to her mother. Rita came to the funeral in the company of Dmitri, and the widow was unable to listen to the mourning of her in-laws, remembering only the most unpleasant moments for some reason. Life without Lyosha lost all the colors for Larissa, but she understood that she had to move on. Work, raise daughters, trying not to need them in anything. In one of the days, almost immediately after lunch, a woman called. Ania, excited, told her mother, "Grandma came to us here and said that she would wait for you, even if we don't let her into the apartment." "What should we do, Mom?" "Anya, don't worry. Open the door for Grandma, take her to the kitchen and offer her some tea. I'll ask the head of the house and come back." Larissa ran home even faster than usual. Her touch hinted that her in-laws were concerned about the material matter, but her heart refused to believe it. After all, only 9 days passed, and his mother said she would go to the shop. Having seen her daughter-in-law, Rita immediately went to work. "Let's not talk about the long preface, Larissa. I was at the notary's office to figure out what and what, and they told me that I was the legal heir of my son. I have some property. Well, how are we going to solve the problem? I hope peacefully by relatives. I suggest this option. You pay, say, 1,000,000 rubles and refuse to rent this apartment." Larissa smiled. "Well, first of all, Margarita Mikhailovna, hello? Secondly, I have a surprise for you." The owner asked the eldest daughter, Anya, "Please bring the blue-colored folder from the bedroom. It should be on the desk." When the girl brought what her mother asked, Larissa stretched the sheet of paper out of her blood. "Here is Margarita Mikhailovna. This is, as you can see, a notarially confident will of Alexei. I don't know why he decided to make it up. I think he felt something bad in some way, although he did not tell me about his experiences. In general, as you can see, all that he had was entrusted to me and the girls." From anger, Larissa's patience was running out, and she pointed her blood to the exit. Daughters began to console Mom, who was crying and almost crying, and the door closed. "Mom, please don't cry," Anya begged. "Don't cry, Mom." Following the elder sister, little Sveta began to ask, "Don't worry, my dear ones. I will calm down now, girls. You know what? Let's go visit Annie Dmitrievna." "Hooray!" the girls shouted in chorus. The former director of the orphanage, having listened to the teacher, advised her to find a good lawyer. And even Margarita, who had turned to court, received nothing. However, Larissa was not happy with the victory because it could not bring her back to Lyosha. Her father-in-law avoided communication and only announced the son's death, where she turned to her daughter-in-law in front of all the gathered. I don't know if I'm right to ask about this, but forgive me, Larissa. I don't even understand what I found when I was involved in the extortion. Dima left me, cheering up before this like a stick, and now I understand that Lyoshenko was completely right on his account. I am so guilty and so lonely. Larissa hugged her blood. Don't cry, Margarita Mikhailovna. You have me and the girls.